Happy Tuesday. And I hope that Tuesday is going great for you so far. So welcome. I want to talk a little bit. Hey, Mallory. I want to talk a little bit about, Unique, a little bit about relationship cycles. You know that in and out, the person is coming and going in your life, or like the relationship is downgraded for some reason. Like you were dating and now all of a sudden you're not. But you're not really clear why. Or maybe you are kind of clear why, but it's like this cycle pattern of in and out, right? This is something that we have all had at least probably one relationship where that has happened, and some more often, right? But before I get into that, I'm going to give 2 reasons for why this happens. But before I get into that, if you are new, I do want to just share that if you are looking for some breakthrough tools on forgiveness or evicting fear and anxiety, just tap the link in my bio and you will find some resources there. And also, if you are new to this page, welcome again. And I do want to share with you who I am. So my name is Beth and I am a breakthrough coach. Yes, breakthrough and Beth. Alliteration. I do love alliteration. So a breakthrough coach means that I work with my clients to elevate their lives after trauma or heartbreak, and as they're elevating their lives, to enjoy happier relationships, more peace, and also, of course, more confidence. So let's get right into it, shall we? So now, hey, Coach Coop. So what happens? Why are sometimes our relationships like in and out? Why is this person coming and going? Well, reason number 1 may be a boundary issue. Now, boundaries are, I want to start by saying this. Boundaries are for you. They are not for manipulating or forcing someone else to live up to your standards. They are really for you. They are a guideline for you. And the other thing is, hey Zen, the other thing about boundaries is, in addition to not being something that you use to manipulate other people, they are also something that will only work if you yourself believe in your own value. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that tomorrow or the next day, about the importance of our confidence and our self-esteem in order for these boundaries to work, right? Because we can have boundaries, but if we do not believe in our value, our worth, if we have not forgiven ourselves, if we're not afraid of rejection, if we haven't released that fear of rejection or people pleasing or whatever it is that we're nervous about, the boundary, it doesn't matter. You could have hundreds of boundaries all day, every day. If you don't believe in your own value, they won't work. But I'll talk a little bit more about that in the future. But here's the thing, boundaries are for you. And if someone is going in and out of your life and your relationship is on and off, it's most likely, one reason is, it's most likely that you haven't put in boundaries. So boundaries have to be in alignment with what you want. So what is it that you want? What is it that you want for yourself, for your life? This could be in your... All right, I had a brief pause. I'm back. Technical difficulty there with Instagram. But yes, where was I? Boundaries, they are meant to be in alignment with what we want for our relationships, either personally or professionally, right? So when someone is in and out of our lives, it means that we don't really know what we want. Like, what is it that you want? Do you know what you want? Are you really clear on what you want? I shared a little bit about this yesterday, so you can go back and watch the live from yesterday. But what is it that you need, right? And you want? Do you have boundaries in place for that? If you want respect, well, what does that look like for you? And what boundaries would you need to put into place so that you are respected? And if you're not respected, then are you going to enforce those boundaries, or are you going to stay and put up with it? And if you're staying and putting up with something that is going against what the boundary is, say, of respect, then you're not going to be respected. The person also, here's the other thing about the other person. They may not even need to know what your boundary is, or you may want to communicate it. So I'll give an example, a real life example. So I ended a relationship with someone, and then they were like, well, you're gonna still work with me. So here's the thing, it doesn't matter. It just, even strangers on the street. I'll meet someone on the street, they start talking to me, and I'll do my best to support them, right? I love connecting people. I love supporting people. So if I am in a relationship with someone, even if it's just like one single date, one first date, and that's it, and it never goes further, and we talk and I can find a way to support them or connect them, I will, right? In whatever comes up. That's just like me naturally. Hey, Dylan. Well, so anyway, this person was like, he was like, well, you know, we can fight all day, because I ended things with him. He's like, we can fight all day behind the scenes, but you're going to work with me. We're going to work together. Hey, I was like, no, I'm not fighting with anyone. And he literally used the word, like, we can fight cats and dogs behind the scenes. Why would I want to fight cats and dogs with anyone? Why would I want to have that? I'm not doing that, right? So I was like, no. And second of all, I'm not going to work with you. I do work with a lot of people, but this particular person, because I knew my value, I knew that, and I'm not trying to throw any shade or put him down, I knew who the person was in that partnership that he wanted with the talents, and it was me. And I knew who the person was with the intelligence in that partnership that he wanted. It was me. So because I knew what I wanted, peace, to not be fighting with someone all the time, and that was my boundary, I was like, we're not doing that. I hadn't like really ever said before to him, leading up to that, I'm not going to be in any type of relationship where I'm fighting cats and dogs style with someone, right? That was not anything I'd previously communicated. But when it came up and he was like willing to fight like that, I was like, well, let me tell you something. That's not happening. So having that boundary and knowing what you will put up with and will not put up with. And you have to know that in advance. And if you do not have that for yourself in advance, then it makes it real easy for someone who is emotionally or spiritually or unhealthy, right? And sometimes things come up, right? And you do want to kind of like be sensitive to it. Like sometimes someone will lose their job or go through some like extreme financial hardship, or they will have like the death of a parent or a best friend or a sibling, right? Could throw someone off. Unemployment. Oh, I just said unemployment, but financial problems, like things like that could like maybe make someone like kind of go away and need to take care of themselves a little bit for a month or so. So I'm not saying like just be insensitive and when someone is going through a hard time, but at the end of the day, right, you still need boundaries, because someone who is going through a hard time, say they're like going through a financial hardship. I'm sweating over here. I was freezing all of August, right? I was wearing coats. It's finally September. It's finally behaving like summer. I'm finally happy with this weather. Yes. But yes, so if that person is going through a hard time, say like they're going through a financial hardship, a job loss, and so, hey Nick, hey Switch, so they're kind of in and out. Well, if you don't have boundaries in place, then I'm saying it's good to be sensitive when someone's going through a hard time, but if you don't have boundaries in place, that person can take advantage of you easily with their own life drama, their own challenges, their own trauma, their own traumatic experience, And the last thing is, a lot of times, especially we as women, but you know what? I have a lot of guy friends, and a lot of men are also very, very sweet and sensitive to like when a woman is going through a hard time. But if you don't have boundaries established for yourself, right? That person who your heart is going out to and you're feeling bad, like, oh my goodness, they're going through such a hard time financially. Oh my goodness, they're going through such a hard time because, you know, this person who they loved so much just died. They're going through like a health crisis. Sometimes people go through health crises, right? Like they're a cancer diagnosis or something serious. And then they're like kind of like pulling away from the relationship or whatever. And then you feel bad for them. And so like you allow yourself to start going on this up and down roller coaster with them, because not because of them, but because of you, because the boundaries that you are lacking for what you will and will not take. So be careful. Hey, yes, hi, Phil. So it's very important that we establish boundaries. This way, we're not taken advantage of for our goodness, for our good hearts, for our kindness, right? And that way also, even when someone is just like themselves, you know, whatever they are, just emotionally or spiritually not healthy themselves, you know, going up and down and on some kind of in and out roller coaster or ride that they're trying to put you on that they're already on, no boundaries, it's going to allow you to take that ride with them. So that is actually one thing as a breakthrough coach. I know I'm talking about relationships. I am not a relationship coach. I am a breakthrough coach. But as a breakthrough coach, I help you to break cycles, break patterns, break through situations that are like blocking you or hindering you, right, in life. So that is actually, boundaries is like really important, is absolutely something that I work with people on. And that is one reason. Now, here's the other reason why things may be on and off again in a relationship. So I forget the exact verse location. It's in Ephesians. But it talks about, we wrestle not against flesh and blood. So our battle, our fight is not always with people. Sometimes we might have a fight with a person and it's literally just a fight with a person, right? But sometimes when there's a pattern, when you start seeing patterns that are repeating and things are not making sense, you're like, this makes no kind of sense. I don't understand this. Sometimes we can understand why things are happening, but when you don't understand something and there's like a repeating pattern, your fight is not any longer with that person. Your fight is actually a spiritual fight. And so the other reason why you may be having issues, or someone you know may be having issues with a relationship on and off again, or the person like just pulling back and just making no kind of sense, it's a spiritual issue. That spiritual issue could be on two parts. It could be either with you, or it could be that something you spiritually need deliverance from, and I'll give you an example of that in a second so that you can kind of see what I'm talking about a little bit. I'm going to just kind of give a general overview, not go into super specifics today, or the spiritual issue could be with the other person. But what you're looking for is patterns, like repeating patterns. Now, if this is like the first time you've ever been in a relationship with someone where it's been on and off again, hot and cold, some kind of like up and down roller coaster cycle, this is like the first time you don't have that pattern. But in getting to know the other person, you're seeing that this is like a pattern they're doing. You're seeing that happened with their parents, like their parents were off and on again, or their step parents were off and on again. You're seeing that off and on again, up and down pattern in their family relationships. Or you're just seeing like certain patterns repeating themselves. It's really actually something spiritual. It's like a spiritual force that is causing this. Hey, it's training day. Welcome. So, and now you can look at your own life and you can say, is there like a pattern that is like repeating in my life? And if there's a pattern that's repeating in your life, you've also seen it repeat in your parents or your grandparents or your cousins or your siblings. Like you're seeing repeating patterns and they're not really making sense why these patterns are reoccurring. then there is something spiritually that is hindering you and blocking you in your relationships and keeping you from progressing forward and elevating forward, that's causing this back and forth in and out cycle. So I will give you an example, a general example from my own life. So I was noticing that there was some like patterns repeating in relationships that I'd had over the years. And I also noticed one way you can know is in your dreams. A lot of times when we sleep, things that we're not aware of in the physical realm, things when we're awake that we're not aware of in the spiritual realm when we're sleeping, because we are emotions, we are body, we are mind, and we're spirit. So our physical emotions and all that, right, set aside, right, there's a spiritual aspect. So when we dream, sometimes we get insight. So I had for years, ever since my father's mother died, which was when I was a sophomore in college, right? From that point on, let me just pause. It's a little noisy in New York. Okay. So yes. So from that point on until like 2021, I had, whenever I dreamed about my grandmother, my father's mother, it was very weird. It was always very dark. If I ever dreamed about being in her home, like the home she and my grandfather shared, it was just not right. It just felt off. And I remember, like, I'd always wake up from these dreams feeling very disturbed, very uncomfortable. So when I started researching and doing all this research about why certain things were going on with me, why certain things were being blocked in my life, I started making some connections. Well, one thing was I had a problem with forgiving. So my lack of forgiveness opened me up to things spiritually that weren't good. And what I also did in my research was on my father's side, both my grandmother's side and my grandfather's side, they did a lot of, especially but more so on my grandmother's side, there was like a lot of involvement. Oh no, there's a truck. Hold on. I was like, I can't talk over that exhaust. Okay. So there was a lot of work. My grandmother was like an Eastern Star. Also the Rebecca's. There was Masonic memberships on both on her side and her father's side, so it went back to like my great grandfather, at least that I know of, and then like Odd Fellows on my father's side. So there was a lot of and if you start researching it, it's involved in witchcraft, it's involved in a lot of things that are demonic. So I asked God to confirm some things to me, and I was like, confirm to me, God, that things are really off, and that these roots in these secret societies that my ancestors were members of. Now, my father was never a member, but or my mother, but my grandparents, right? So show me if this is like something that's like blocking me from relationships, like from marriage, from being found, right, and being recognized by my husband. Like, I started asking questions to God and asking him for confirmation if I was really right about this. And from when I said, God, confirm this, it was like 24 hours later, maybe 30 hours later, it was like that. And he confirmed it in like such an odd way, which I'm not I got sent information that confirmed it further, that the history, the things that my ancestors were involved in spiritually was affecting me. here in my present life with relationships. And so what did I have to do? I had to do exactly what God says, prayer and fasting. And by the blood of Jesus, I am delivered from that, right? That has been broken. But I had to start looking at things a little bit differently. And that's why sometimes we're like, well, I don't get it. I set the boundaries. I'm doing all these other things. Like, I know what I want. I know what I need. I get it. Like, I'm doing all these things. So why are things not working out for me? Why are these patterns still repeating? And the reason being is that it's a spiritual thing. But the crazy thing is a lot of times churches don't teach this. Hold on. Let me pause again. A lot of times people don't talk about it and they're scared to talk about it. Other cultures are not afraid to talk about spiritual things or the spirit world. For whatever reason, in this country, in American culture, it's like almost taboo. People are scared of it. But yet at the same time, for those people who are Christian and believe in life after death, well, actually a lot of religions, almost all religions, but not all. Most religions believe in some sort of life after death. And most religions do have some sort of belief and talk more openly than Christians here in the United States talk about spiritual things. So the other reason, this is the second reason to wrap this up, the second reason why you may be in a relationship or you may find yourself in relationship patterns where it's like on again, off again, and things just don't keep going and progressing properly, it may be literally something that's spiritual that you're fighting against, that you're battling against, or the other person is battling against. And if it's something that both of you are battling against, say like my family, say, was involved, well, like my family was, right? My ancestors were involved in like Masonic and other types of rituals, right? The Eastern Star, the Rebeccas, it's all like counterfeit. It's spiritual. I'm not trying to put any shade on anyone who's got members or any membership or anything. I'm just saying it's rooted in not good things. So if I am at this with that, and someone else that I'm trying to date has their own situation, maybe their ancestors were into some sort of practices that are now affecting their future and their destiny that they haven't been delivered from. Imagine how that's going to work, right? So yes, if that is something that you're curious, I can provide some more resources on that, on spiritual deliverance for that, so that your relationships are not for the rest of your life on and off, stop and go, interrupted, and making no kind of sense, right? Just let me know. You can send me, you can comment below. You can send me a DM and I'll answer you. And it's also something I do also coach as well in my program. My programs as a breakthrough coach is I help people to figure out where their patterns are. And there's different things and there's different reasons, like things that would cause us spiritually to be vulnerable to certain types of attacks spiritually against our relationships. So boundaries, check that you have boundaries. And 2, spiritual. There may be spiritual blocks. So those are the 2 reasons why your relationships or a recurrent relationship could be on and off, up and down, back and forth. All right. So that's all for today. And Lord willing, tomorrow I will be back with another live to chat about some other things with relationships and how we can get breakthrough in our lives and in our relationships. So, all right. And you are always welcome to reach out to me. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I also have in the link in my bio, there's a quiz that you can take. It's titled, Are You Ready for Love? So if you're curious, if you're like, well, am I ready for love? Tap the link for that in my bio and you can take the quiz. It's just 2 minutes and it's super easy, and you'll get some results. You'll get some insights on areas that you may need or may want. That was loud. Some areas in your life that breakthrough may benefit you, right? All right, so until tomorrow, peace.